Welcome to the UMBC Coaches Corner. I'm your host, Steve Levy. So glad once again to be bringing you the Coaches Corner from the studio on the UMBC campus with the cooperation of Media and Communication Studies here at UMBC and all these wonderful students who are getting great experience here with this program and a lot of others here at UMBC. So pleased to be bringing in UMBC head men's and women's cross country coach Matt Gitterman. Coach, welcome to our lovely studio here.
Oh, thank you. Good to be here.
Let's go back and talk about last season, what a special year it was for UMBC cross country. The men winning the America East Conference Championship, the women with their best finish ever. As you kind of reflected back over the summer on last fall, kind of what came uppermost to your mind about that?
It was a goal that we had for 2 years, I think, on the men's side to win. The year before, we knew we had to make some steps to get in range and with the intention of winning it the next year, which is what we did, but it was a lot of build up and pressure to kind of have that one singular goal and try to make it happen at the end. And on the women's side, it was something we were definitely building up from. At one point we had 7 girls on the team a couple of years ago to building the numbers and building up the talent and finally getting to a point where we are kind of competitive in the conference, which is something we haven't traditionally had, but now seem to be kind of on the path too.
Talk about, Matt, as the student athletes get ready for the fall, what are they doing over the summertime to kind of prepare? Obviously, you can't come in cold, certainly to a fall season, expect to compete or expect to stay healthy. But what do they do over the summertime? And then I know your first, the first day you see the team, it's up to Deep Creek for their training to get ready for the season. Kind of talk about that whole preseason.
When I went over the summertime, after outdoor track ends, they take about a week, maybe 2 weeks to kind of get themselves recovered. And after that, they kind of do a slow build up to a range of anywhere from, we have some of the younger kids are about 50 miles per week. Some of the older kids are pushing 100, 110 miles per week is the goal. So they're putting up a significant amount of mileage, not too much intensity, not a lot of workouts. Definitely nothing real structured workout-wise in that regards, but it's just kind of getting themselves and setting the base that we're going to carry not only through cross country, but also indoor track and outdoor track as well. We go to Deep Creek, it's kind of it's more about building team culture and education. We want to teach the new kids about the system, get how the system works. We do a lot of why we do what we do, a lot of team building, a lot of culture building and goal setting. It just kind of sets the tone that we carry through the rest of the year.
Matt, I've noticed, certainly when I started here, it seemed like, once the fall started, there was a meet that UMBC was competing in every single weekend, 6, 7, 8 meets up until your championships. Now you look at the 2014 schedule, there's only 4 meets before you get to conference championships and then go to the NCAA regionals. Talk about that change in philosophy that's occurred over the years.
It's a big kind of change from, I guess what you're referring to is kind of more of an old school mentality of let's get out there and race every weekend. That's something I did in college myself. We'd go out there and race 8Ks every single weekend all the way through November. Now we kind of do the 4 meets that you mentioned, but even then, the first 2 meets that we run in September are not a big deal. We train right through them. We're not really attempting to do well, and when we do well, it's more of kind of against what we were trying to train for. And once we get into October, our 2 main races, the Paul Short Invite and the Princeton Invite, are what we're really kind of gearing up and starting to kind of run fast. And it's just a more focus on training, kind of keeping the legs kind of fresh, but more kind of keeping the kids mentally fresh. You run every weekend like that, and the kids start kind of getting almost callous to racing mentally and kind of loses its edge a little bit. And so you want to keep the kids for high intensity at the end of the season mentally, so to kind of go along with the physical peaking as well.
Now talk about a couple of your team leaders on both the men's and the women's side. Some of your upperclassmen that really are leaders both on and off the course. What do they mean to the team, and what are you expecting from them as you're getting close now to conference championships?
Right. We try to build a team of leaders, and it's beyond the captains as well. So we have actually, instead of having captains meetings, we have leadership meetings, and we'll have 20, 30 kids attending. So it's not just a set of 2 people that rotate in every year. It's a group of 3 or 4 to kind of rotate up and kind of get more responsibilities as they get older. This year our captains on the cross country side have really paid off dividends wise. Have been Eric Schuler and Hassan on the men's side, and then Sarah Daly and Angelino Puta on the women's side. And we're really kind of pushing them hard. They kind of keep the kids organized. They keeps the kids motivated. They keep the communication up. The women also have MK Culp as well. She's another senior leader who's been captain in 2 years now as well. And as a whole, just kind of keep the kids' spirits up and keeping the younger kids knowing what they're doing. More kind of organization and motivation.
Matt, a lot of young kids, I think more and more now, are getting into running at an earlier age, elementary school, middle school level. For that 8 to 13, 14 age group, what are your kind of suggestions and recommendations on, how they train and, not overtrain and things like that, to prepare themselves for, high school and maybe then eventually collegiate cross country?
Yeah, and Maryland, it's strange to me coming from New York. In New York, you could actually run varsity track and field and cross country in 7th and 8th grade. So you have kids in the middle school level running very structured, very organized, very intense workouts starting at age like 12 and 13. In Maryland, I like it a little bit better. I like that there's not as much intensive organization like that. And when people come up and ask me a lot about, well, what should my kid be doing in elementary school and in middle school in terms of training wise, the biggest thing I tell them is just have fun. If they feel like running that day, go out and run. If they don't feel like running that day, don't go out and run. Play other sports. If they want to play soccer, let them play soccer. And then once they get to like freshman year and they run freshman year, if that's something they really want to get into, then coming into sophomore year is when they can really start getting intense about it and really picking up the more formal training and stuff.
So Matt, this year the America East Championships go all the way up north to Maine. You were at Binghamton last year, and Binghamton's been a very good spot for UMBC, but now you go up to Orono for the championships there on November 1st on that Saturday. What are your expectations? I know there's a lot of very good teams in the conference, but what are you thinking about? I know you're several weeks away at this point, but looking forward certainly to those league championships.
Yeah, over this last month of the season, we'll be looking at how the other teams are kind of coming along. It's hard to tell in cross country where teams are at because the courses are different lengths and different conditions and different weather, so it's not like track and field where it's very cut and dry about time-wise.
Right.
So we just have a general idea going in of where we stand and where other teams stand, and just kind of focus more on the racing aspect and the time aspect of it. Heading into Maine, there's some. It's north. It's pretty north. So there's the threat of snow and winter conditions that aren't typically seen around here. So we kind of go in there expecting the worst, and if it's anything better than the worst, then we're delightfully surprised.
Well, Matt, certainly best of luck at the conference championships, and you've done a phenomenal job building this cross country program at UMBC. Best of luck to you and your team moving forward.
Thank you.
Once again, that's UMBC Cross Country head coach Matt Gitterman. The conference championships come up in early November. You can follow the Retrievers all season long on UMBCRetrievers.com. For the Coach's Corner, I'm Steve Levy.